What is up, everybody? Welcome to the third episode of the Panthers Nation podcast here on the Panthers Nation Network. Now, we call it the network because y'all can tell now after a couple weeks, we're not just a podcast. We've got videos coming from Shantice over there. We've got tweets and looking for some articles later on from Tyler Bursky down there. And we've got your little Charlotte flavor from Jeff Taylor. Look for another segment we're going to be releasing here in the next couple weeks with Jeff Taylor. That's some exciting stuff that we've got ready for y'all. And guys, it's been so amazing seeing the support y'all had for us. We're already at 600 followers. Shantice put some on his story. He got us to 600 later that day. So just we love y'all so much. We thank y'all so much for the support. We can see the analytics. We see y'all are listening to us. So we just really appreciate y'all. And we've got some stuff in the works for y'all to, give our love back to the community. So just keep in touch. Keep your eye out on that. But guys, going into today's game, I mean, this is not something uncommon for the Carolina Panthers where you play a really, really good game against a team we thought we were going to, get crushed by. And then you're set up against a team that you probably at least should have held onto or played a game against, and they blow you out of the water. The Panthers have done this time and time again. What were y'all's thoughts? I mean, this is nothing new for us, guys. So what were your thoughts going after today's loss?
I was actually disappointed. Like, sometimes I go into these games, I'm happy that we're close, I'm happy we're competing, but I was actually disappointed today. I was like, I was surprised by how bad we were in the second half. But, we'll get into that later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of just going off what Shantice said there. The first half we're hanging on barely, but you could tell things were ready to go south at any point, and eventually that did happen, and it wasn't even just Brady coming off hot like we thought he would. I mean, he was really good, but overall everything was bad. Everyone struggled, and we got decimated everywhere.
I keep waiting for Mother Nature and Father Time to catch up with Brady, and his passes were – he threw 3 passes in the end zone that weren't caught. They were like fat. I'm like, why are they not catching them? And then I see the velocity at which they're coming. But like you guys said, listen, first half, you're there. You get your hopes up. We'll talk about it. I want to talk about the last possession that the Panthers had before the half ended. But you're right there. I mean, it's all right there in black and white. And your third quarter killed you.
And I will say, though, Tom Brady because it didn't look like we were getting much pressure on him, but I will say some of his throws where he had Gronk or even AB open in the end zone or far to the red zone, he just overthrew him. So there were times that I was looking at Brady, I'm like, okay, he's still not, he's not, dwindling at all. But there you can see it set in a little bit. But I think that also just attributes to how bad our pass coverage is, because there were multiple times these guys were wide open in the second and third level. And Tyler, Shantice, I know y'all are tired of me saying it. And for the new guys listening to this podcast, you haven't heard me say it yet, but there are 2 things that I think lost us this game. And I say it every week. It was our offensive line and our defensive backs. Teddy had literally maybe 2 seconds to throw the ball almost every play. You see, there are free shots that these defenders are having on Teddy, and we're seeing it set in. Teddy right now is getting an MRI on his knee. Thank the Lord it's not the knee that he aggravated the first time to almost, end his career. But, I mean, send prayers up, because we saw PJ coming for the rest of those, series, and it did not look good at all. So and then our defensive backs, I mean, we were making AB look good, guys. And to be fair, it's AB, but they just had, Cameron Brate, I forgot he was still in the league up until that touchdown.
Yeah. Look, all right. Dante Jackson being hurt with that turf toe is really killing us, because he played for a half. And you notice the half he plays, we play well. We're in it. We may have a chance, but he can't finish games. And with it being because of injury, you really can't do anything about it. But I look at Troy Pride, and the kid looks terrified. Like he looks. You can't give a 10-yard cushion in the red zone. He's giving up literally everything under the sun. There's no route that receivers can't run against him at this point, because he seems to have no confidence in any of his ability when he's out there.
Who's that?
Troy Pride Jr.
Well, listen, he's had a great season. Jeremy Chin did not play well today.
Yeah, that mismatch was not great.
With that mismatch with Gronk, but Jim, that's me. The secondary, and you said it, Jack. The secondary, it is what it is right now. And I think that those first few games were they a mirage, where everybody felt good about everything, and we thought, hey, we can do that. You just got beat today. You got beat by better. And here's the deal: the difference between a good football team and an average football team is The good football team makes plays when they need to. And people step up. And listen, we're still young. I'm not going to use that as an excuse anymore, but you'll grow, but good teams step up to the plate when they have to and do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it came down to their talent on offense at every single skill position versus our biggest weakness, and that's our secondary, where, once Dante left, it's nothing really after him.
I will say, like, we're very hard on Dante. We're very expecting of Dante. We want him to be that number one. And as much as we bash him or have bashed him in the last couple weeks, like Shanti said, when he's off the field, it is apparent and it is known what we have left on that field. I mean, Burris coming back didn't do really anything for us. I mean, that was neither here nor there. I mean, it's just, you see the lack of depth we have in that position and just the lack of experience. That's another thing. And Shantice and Tyler, I can ask you all this. I mean, we're looking at it, we're sitting here in week, 10? Is that where we're at? I can't remember, 10, 11? One 10, of the, yeah. I think. And you think about the college season and how long it lasts, and you think about the amount of guys we're having coming right out of their college season. This stamina that they are having, you're going to start to see it dwindle within these next few weeks. They have not played a season this long, a lot of these guys. They have not gone this many weeks in a row. So, I mean, how much of a factor is that going to show in the next couple of weeks?
It's the rookie wall. Everybody hits it. And when you have a bunch of guys, you drafted a bunch of young guys, you expect them to play. Yeah, they have to work through that rookie wall, but this is where you want to have veteran guys to go alongside them and help push them through, like how to get through that rookie wall. How do you keep your body up? Because I think about it. I think about Jeremy Chin. He went to Southern Illinois. I can't imagine that his training regimen at Southern Illinois really translated that well to what he's having to do in the NFL. And maybe his body just isn't up for it, because I think about these guys didn't have a full offseason as well. Like, they didn't have a full offseason with an NFL training staff. So, these guys are, I think at this point, they're probably going to limp to the finish line, and just, you really hope that you get there the best way you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going along with that point about the rookie wall and how they're, getting to the point in the season where at this is the longest they played football in their life for a consistent stretch. So, they're figuring things out on their own, but not just them, but our coaching staff. We don't have much NFL experience at all, not counting Phil Snow, has dabbled in the league for a little bit, but we're kind of just figuring this NFL thing out as we go, and the schedule and everything, how it works, not to mention it's an off year. So everyone's kind of just getting used to it together.
And you talk about,
let me just say this real quick, and it has nothing to do with what you just brought up, Jack. But the sad part is, we'd be tied for the lead in the NFC.
I can't even. So this is.
I can't even. Just never mind. Words are not enough.
Well, it's interesting. So right now, the NFL, if y'all just saw, they just passed a contingency plan. The NFL Owners Association, they passed a contingency plan if the season were not to complete the 17 weeks. Basically, they said if the season has to end short, any team that if a team has to quarantine, has to cancel a game, they don't have to make it up anymore now. They just have, if it gets to week 17 for everybody else and they've only played 15 games, tough. And your winning percentage and your record and playoff percentage is based off of that winning percentage compared to everybody else. They also announced that if the season does not get to 17 games, if we can't finish, we have to shut off. If we had to shut off next week, what they would do is keep the playoffs, go to add an extra seed for each conference. You'd have 8 seeds in the playoffs, be the top division leaders, and then the top 4 records after that. Now, here's the interesting part, because especially for the NFC East, the seeding would not be based off of division and then record. It would be based solely off record. So you'd have the Eagles sitting at 4-12 if they might be winning that division. They'd be number 8. They'd be number 8 in the seeding, and no one would have a bye. And then also the home field advantage would not be based off of seeding either. It'd be based off of record in that matchup. So if you're playing, even if somehow the Eagles, get up to be if they get to be 6-10, but they're playing someone, and so their seeding is higher than somebody else, if record-wise, they still might have to go to that team to play them in the playoffs. So that's just, it's concerning a bit that they're already thinking that far ahead, and it's good to be prepared. It is good to be prepared. I don't think they're thinking of it that much yet, but that was just something I thought of, Jeff, because that would be a huge factor. I don't know if that 8th spot would help the Panthers, because right now, 3 teams from the NFC West are more than likely making the playoffs, unless the Seahawks go on an absolute downslide, which, they've lost what? Two straight now?
Listen, they've lost 3 of their last 4. And we can talk about Teddy and people talk about his play and stuff like that. Russell Wilson's gone from MVP to the cellar right now because he's had 7 turnovers in 2 games. 7 turnovers in 2 games. And back to what you just said.
Damn numbers.
This whole idea of 8, I don't like it. You're going to water it down. At some point, you're going to water it down. But it does open, it opens some chances for teams to get in there. And we'll see what happens. And it's been interesting because the interesting part about the whole coronavirus and the COVID has been you've had one case like on this team or one case here. You haven't had the Titans back in the day or the Raiders where you had 10, 12, 20 players. So it has been very minimal, and we've gotten the games off. So I think the next couple of weeks for our nation as a whole with Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that will go a long way in terms of, I think, how things go. But kudos to the NFL for the way they've handled it right now.
No, definitely. So now getting, back to the Panthers. I mean, guys, what were some of the things that you obviously know my grievances, and there were others too, because Tyler, you talked about it with the coordinators and the age of our coordinators. They're not calling plays the way they need to. And this is something we looked at. I mean, we talked about Brady, we talked about Snow early on and what they were doing with what they had. Now it's kind of more the reverse where they've got these guys, but they're not calling the right formations. They're not drawing up the right plays. I mean, some of these calls, especially for Brady on these third downs, I'm like, what are you doing, dude? So, I mean, Ashanti, you look like you have something to say about the matter.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Because, I just been seeing this. I've had to argue with people for at least about a good month about Joe Brady. And I've only been saying that he's just not ready yet. He's not exactly what everybody's trying to make him out to be. He just needs time because I can't get him to call a complete game. It's been 5 weeks. I have not gotten a complete offensive second half from Joe Brady yet. And not that he's not a great young mind in this game, but it's really telling after the first half of games. If you start noticing everything, all Teddy's reads that he had in the first half, they're gone. All the slants, all the little dink and dunk passes, the teams just all they do. I say it every week. They press up, take away everything short. If he can't get it over the top, oh well. We'll press and make him have to make a play down the field, and he hasn't seemed to figure out that. That's what's going to happen each and every week. It seems the second half adjustments just keep losing him and Phil Snow in every game we played so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. Just with Joe Brady, the talent's there, and he's definitely going to be one of the up-and-coming coaches in the league. But like Sean T said, we got to pump the brakes a little bit with him, being a head coach maybe next year. He might, but we'll see. But he definitely needs some more time, and just needs to become more consistent, really. But I want to talk about a little bit about Phil Snow, who we really don't touch on much on the podcast. I thought today was one of his worst games, especially like the Panthers. They kept bringing up the stat on how terrible we are on third downs. We can't get off the field. So I paid closer attention to that today. And, there's a variety of different calls and stuff, but there was one instance where we sent a 6-man pressure on 3rd and long, and the guys were coming from depth. It took forever to get there, and so it's one-on-one all across the board. And against those receivers, they're going to win. And I get you got to throw different stuff on an offense like that, but when you have your guys coming from depth to get Brady, it's just not going to work out well. And then seems like there's some instances where we got guys doing things they shouldn't be, and guys in the wrong spots. So. I want to, our defense is the main problem of our team, I think. So I want to see that get cleaned up in the next few weeks and help develop our players some more.
I would think, honestly, more so than our defense, I think communication is our biggest issue on this team. I don't understand what is going on right now. And so one thing I will say about Phil, I don't think he's making adjustments. It's like Shanti said, people are making adjustments that they have to go against our offense. I don't think Phil's changing anything. I think Phil has a set what he wants to do and is just going by it. I think he's sticking to what is safe. On the other side of that, I think Brady is too confident in his own calls and he's too headstrong in his own calls. I think he's got a game plan that he has set out for more than just the first drive. Most offensive coordinators, they have that game sheet of the 10, 15 plays. I think he's got 40 all there in succession, and he's just calling them no matter what. It's what it's looking like to me, because it doesn't seem like either of them are playing to the game. They're playing to what they want to do and what they want to accomplish, but that's not what you do in football. You have to adapt, and it doesn't seem like they are adapting. Son of a bitch. I saw that Nick Batum is now staying with the Hornets. He exercised his $27 million option. I'm sorry. That was a right off the beat reaction. But something is nice about the Hornets, though. Those mint Buzz City jerseys that we just released, the mint and gold, those were dirty.
Have you seen the floor?
The floor is insane too. The court was really dope.
Hey, real quick, let me throw in. I didn't know, to be honest with you, who Joe Brady was in terms of what he looked like.
What is his haircut? Did you see that? What did he do? Who hurt him? Who hurt his hair? He had chunks taken out of it.
The couple of times they showed him today in the third quarter, it was this kind of coach, and I don't know if you guys would agree with me, he kind of looked like, what am I doing here? Why am I, it was like, oh my God, I'm going against, Tom Brady and the Tampa, and it was just this kind of like look of like a deer in headlights. There was just this look about him like, and then, I guess at the end of the half, after you complete that long pass, which I thought was completed.
Yeah.
Get up and run the play. I don't know why all of a sudden, Teddy's doing this and looking all over. And it's like 15 seconds, and I know they were trying to figure out, and then it went to the review and stuff. Get up and snap the football. So, yeah, the communication factor, I think there were a couple times where I saw, Teddy look over to the sidelines and there was some kind of like questioning. Get your act together and go. And here's what bothered me too, real quick, about that play, even though it was incomplete. And I want to double check it. I'd love to talk about it next week. I'm not sure why the refs, they threw the flag for delay a game on sportsmanlike conduct because the guy wouldn't get off of him, but then they didn't mark it off when they took the ball back.
Yeah.
And I thought they were supposed to, but they didn't. But that's neither here nor there. But when you let 15, 20 seconds run off the clock and you look unorganized, get up there and snap the football.
And I don't know if it's because recently, in recent weeks, and in the last 2 weeks now, Brady has moved from the box down to the field. I don't know what I'm not a coach-minded guy. I'm not really sure what that entails, and if that's been because I don't know if the communication issue was with Teddy's helmet, and that's why he wasn't able to get the calls. Because we've seen as Panthers an uncanny problem with time management with Teddy. With the Chiefs game, we used all of our timeouts going with maybe 10 minutes left in the second. This week, it was about 5 minutes left in the second. We used all of our timeouts with 2 or 3 positive drives going forward after that. So I don't know if now he's moving down, and that's what you saw, Jeff, when he was looking over, now just looking literally at Brady for hand signals like you would. But they got to get that together because it's costing us crucial plays and crucial timeouts that we could be using to better ourselves. It's so y'all talk about that because I think
let me say this real quick and I'll let everybody else go. To me, if you're down on the sideline, you got 80 people around you. Mm-hmm. Everything's kind of crazy. And as an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, I don't get if you're not up in the press box or up where you're in the coach's box, where you can see what's developing.
Exactly, or see the coverages that they're in and know to change them. It's hard enough to see them on the line of scrimmage as it is.
And you've got your your assistant offensive coordinator, or whoever's beside you, going, they're in this coverage, they're in this coverage. By the time you relay that, maybe they're up high, they relay it down low, and then you get it to Teddy, and you're trying to think of what plays to call, and you got, Matt Rule beside you, and this person, that's too much going on for this guy for the first time. Get back up in the box, watch your coverage, see what they're in, and go from there.
But it speaks to what like we said earlier, communication on both sides of the ball has been bad, and it goes to we have young coaches and young players, and that's the risk you take when you want to go completely young because you don't have. There's a huge difference between coaching in the NFL level and the college level. Because think about college, you got offenses that have the play cards on the sideline, the big play cards on the sideline. You hold them up, boom, there's the play card, go. There's a lot more communication, there's a lot more talking in the NFL game. And for the guys that you see struggle from the college level to the NFL level, they tell you the main thing is the communication. Like there's way more discussion on the field between players, on the field between coaches, and I think maybe Joe Brady's struggling with he has to communicate more with his quarterback than he did at, say, LSU, and maybe that's what's kind of causing all of these breakdowns with clock management, with burning timeouts all in one half with 5 minutes left.
And just like Tyler was talking about, you saw it, Tyler. I saw at one point, friggin' Russell Coons standing up in the stands, looking around like, what am I supposed to be doing? When you're trying, you can't do that. You can't have your players not know what they're supposed to be doing going into these games. I'll talk more about the offensive line. That's just, it's showing how poor it is. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but just, we talked about, I saw, recap of the game, and they were talking about how, not being able to sling it deep really killed us in the second half. We know we can't sling it deep. We do not have the offensive line to be able to get these plays going. That's why DJ Moore has honestly been a bit quieter these last few weeks, because that's where he makes his splash, is getting a pass, that 15-yard mark or that 20-yard mark and taking it and going downfield. He had a couple of those the first half, but that offensive line is not going to hold up long enough to where it can do that all game. We don't have the depth for it. They don't have the stamina. They're getting Tyler Larson's coming in and out or going back and forth. It's just not, you can't do that. And so I know that's a big issue. I know they've been saying, I did like seeing DJ get more touches in the first half. That was, that was nice to see. But Tyler, this relationship between the line and the cat pack, I guess we still call them. I mean, how much of an issue have you seen from that in terms of helping our offense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, especially in the offense, because we got guys where, DJ Moore, he's, 4-4 guy, and Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, 4-3, and they're great after the catch and underneath areas. All three of them are. I mean, you see Curtis play running back. DJ Moore is great after the catch, and Robbie Anderson, he's really shown a lot to me after the catch. But all three of them, what you love to see for them is they can all be vertical threats. They definitely can be, and it's hard to do that when, one, the offensive line doesn't give us the time to hang in there, and two, Teddy, love him, but that's not really what he's made for, is pushing the ball downfield. But so it definitely limits them. And like Sean T said earlier, great point. Once teams start to realize this, once teams have started to caught on to us over the weeks and watching our games, they realize that downfield is not going to be too much of a threat for them if they can get pressure on us. Play in the short zones, play press, take away the easy stuff. It's going to be tough for us, especially with that offensive line.
I will say real quickly to Joe Brady's, to his benefit and to compliment him, I'm trying to remember. I don't think I saw any instance of the horrible screen pass called this week. I don't think I saw it.
Well, DJ Moore caught the touchdown off the screen.
I like that.
But it wasn't that horrible, sending Mike Davis out of the flat or saying,
Yeah, and that lead block, or whoever 73, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Dude, did he not level? He leveled the corner.
That's what we love to see.
I mean, just leveled him.
And then Jeff, you can speak to it too, being a resident Titans fan, also, watching the Panthers. And also it was a once in a blue moon. Jeff was able to watch the Panthers all day because Titans were playing on Thursday night. We won't talk to Jeff about that game because that's going to hurt him. But I will say, you've seen how much a team's offense can come to a halt when you lose a key piece of your offensive line. And the Panthers have had to so talk a little about that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at we're 1-3 since Taylor Lewan left. And while Tannehill has had okay games, Ryan Tannehill has kind of looked like the Ryan Tannehill of Miami. He's had a couple of tough games, and Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. Let's just be real. Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry's going to get his 100 yards, and that's it. But yeah, I mean, when you've got, I don't even know the guy's name who took his place, and that's bad. I'm a Titans fan. I don't know his name. But when you lose that, it's a big deal. And one guy, one spot on an offensive line goes a long way. So, like you said, Teddy was under pressure all day long. And the interesting part was we talk about Teddy downfield and stuff like that. I just want to back up for just a second. He wasn't real accurate all day, to be honest with you. I mean, I know he completed passes, but even like the touchdown to the tight end.
Yeah, Colin Thompson. I was like, who the hell are you?
Go back and watch that touchdown pass and compare it to when Brady hit. I don't know who he hit, but like our guy, like Thompson, had to wait for it almost, and Teddy almost didn't get it in there. What Brady led the guy, and it was a perfect thing. Teddy today, even though he completed passes and he was like 10 for 10 at the beginning,
he was like a tick off.
Yeah. They were not good.
Well, I think
go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, like some of Teddy's numbers, like those, what he started like 13 of 13, start the game off. He was like 13 of 13 for 89 yards. Like none of it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I look at Teddy's numbers and they're kind of a farce. Like they don't really tell the whole story as to how that game is actually going.
And there was one deep ball, and I don't know who it was to. Was it DJ Moore who had to wait for him?
Yeah, DJ Moore.
If he'd have hit him in stride, that's 6.
That's 6. And that's been the problem. And I saw it a little bit today too. And I don't know if it was because of the way, if the line was cheering a little bit more, because he had McCaffrey back last week and got a taste of it. The amount of check down passes that Teddy was throwing, I don't know if it's because he didn't have enough time, but I mean, the amount of passes I saw go out to the flat and go to Mike Davis, where that'll work if you have McCaffrey, but for the most part, not with Mike Davis. I mean, people have found you just got to kind of give your full force to Davis, and more often than not, you will be able to stop him. Still credit to Davis. He ran a hell of a game at certain points, and he's still certainly fighting. I love seeing it from him. He knows he's only going to be in the 1 week, and then he's going to be, same spot he was next week, and we pray that, McCaffrey won't be out any longer than he is. I mean, and we pray Teddy won't be out any longer than he is, because if Teddy's out any longer, I'm honestly saying all receivers, sorry, I said the sideline, let's bring an extra lineman. I'm just having McCaffrey do wildcat the whole game. That's the only thing we can do at that point.
I'd love to hear everybody else's take on this, especially Tyler's. At what point do you go, listen, this season's over to a point, and you got to protect McCaffrey and you got to protect Bridgewater. I mean, unless you want to go with somebody else down the road, but Mike Davis might get more carries than we think he's going to get over the next few weeks. Tyler, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so going into this week, the big tell is going to be how Teddy's MRI is. If he's seriously injured, and McCaffrey is ready, we got to throw McCaffrey out there just because he wants to play so bad. This is what he's here for, of course. But limiting his touches, limiting the hits he's taking him out on pass blocking, getting Mike Davis in there might not be the worst idea just to preserve him. That's our $1 million man that we're paying big bucks to, the highest paid running back. So we got to protect him at all costs, because if he goes down, like we've seen, it just puts a burden on us, and he's a great player, and we need him. And then, so if Teddy is back and he's playing, and this continues over the next couple of weeks of the injuries and the losses and everything, I don't think you take either of them out of the game towards the end of the season because just to preserve them, even if they're not injured. But limiting hits on them and preserving them may be the way to go.
Yep.
Now, I won't say we should take anybody out and leave and tank the season, but if there was any point that I would do it, these next two games against the Lions and the Vikings, lose those two. Really, you can very well lose both of those games. But if you do, go ahead and call it. Go ahead and call it. Let's go ahead and get ready for the draft. Try to go get a top 10, top 5, and then let's roll from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like I said, and I said it last week with McCaffrey. I was okay in the retrospect keeping him out of that final drive against the Chiefs. He didn't look 100%, and in the grand scheme of it all, this game and season really doesn't matter to the Panthers' future. Where in terms as opposed to McCaffrey and his health and safety. So if he's not 100%, you keep him out. You don't make sure that he gets hurt anymore, and you continue to just try and win without him, because I mean, you don't ever say that you need to try to win without him, but you always have to be prepared for that, just in case. But for the money that you're paying him, you can't put him in a situation where he's going to get hurt even more than he is. And it was, like I said, it was just a weird game all around. And I mean, not a weird game. It's kind of what I expected. I mean, we were doing okay in terms of rush defense for a little while until the back-breaking run that was Ronald Jones joining one of 4, and including resident Derrick Henry, one of 4 running backs to hit a 98-yard run. And but it wasn't even a Derrick Henry run. That was the worst part. He hit the first level, he hit the second level, he was gone, and that was it. And I mean,
I stepped away for a second. I went down, I come back up. I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah, I blinked and I was like, wait. I blinked and I went, wait a minute, hold up, what just happened? And then
the turn.
That drive in reality, or that sequence of the offensive drive, and then Teddy's next consecutive play with just a horrible again. And I set it up to, he was being rushed. He had hands and bodies all around him. He needed to get the ball out. He shouldn't have forced it. He was trying to force it and get the team back on track. But I guess when you let a man with one hand, with a hand and a half, pick you off, what do you do that? What do you do with the game there? That's when I was like, oh no.
I ain't gonna lie. I knew the game. I lost hope for that game at that point. I was like, you know what? Maybe Justin Fields ain't that bad. Maybe the tank ain't really that bad. Maybe we should just go ahead and just call it. Because when 3 fingers can make a pick on you,
I mean, he wasn't smart enough to run away and to not light up fireworks in his hand, but yet he's smart enough to drop back into coverage and pick you off without you seeing him. Like, that don't make sense to me.
Even then, it was still a 2-score game. I mean, even then, it was still a 2-score game.
Oh yeah.
And then to be fair to the defense, they held him to a field goal, and our defense has done very well in the red zone. It's kind of annoying at that point because it's better. It would be better to not let them get there, but of course, it's a bend don't break, and it's kind of like the Titans. The Titans are the same way for the most part. They'll let them in the red zone, but then they'll hold them in the red zone. It's just difficult to watch because as a fan, you want them to do well. You never want your team to openly lose, to try to tank. Most fans don't.
No.
And you go in there, you want to go in each week thinking, okay, we're good. We'll be able to go. And then
I won't lie. It's just this having to learn how to win. And this is the part that I'm never a fan of when you go get new coaches and you try to like when they tried the pictures on, we're still competing now. I was like, well, no, you're not, because
you're not.
You brought in college coaches at every level, offensive coordinator, head coach, and defense coordinator. So they have to learn how to play in this league, how to coach in this league. You have a bunch of rookies all on defense. They have to learn how to play in this league, and you have to learn how to win. We all remember the start of the Ron Rivera era. It's very similar. They had to learn. It took them 3 years, and so the thing about this is like, well, I mean, we have talent that, like when 2011, when we were bad, we just weren't talented. We competed well, but we weren't talented. This team is, if I look at Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, all I have to do is put together a defense, and okay, we're in the playoffs by next year. But there's no timetable on how long it takes for a team to learn how to put together victories.
So we've got the matchup this week against the Lions, and the Lions are a weird team right now. They're 2-2 in the last 4 weeks. And I mean, they just beat the Redskins. Of course, it is the Redskins, but they're doing so. The crazy part is they're doing so without Kenny Galladay, their number one wide receiver. It was Marvin Jones today. Now, sure, they still have TJ Hawkinson, and DeAndre Swift has started to come into his own as a running back. And he's looking like a force that, he's looking like one of those elusive running backs that can make things happen in open field that the Panthers just love to play poorly against. But it will be a home game. But to me, it gives me it's reminiscent of the game in 2017. When we played the Lions, we had a couple iffy games. It was right before Cam, it was right before that, or after that Steelers game, the next game where it was in Detroit. We were looking like we were going to go well. And then that last play, Curtis had a great touchdown and then went for the 2. Cam just overthrew him. And that started our down spiral of the year. We had a chance to come back from a big loss where a team put up more than 40 on us. So now we have the chance to come back from a big loss where a team put up 40 on us. And so I know I'm nervous more because my roommate is a Lions fan, and I don't want to have to hear that for a week if we end up losing to the Lions. So what are y'all's thoughts on it?
Well, a lot of my thoughts are the same concerns we have on defense every week, and you're facing another quarterback that, while Matthew Stafford isn't, I mean, he's not nobody's top 10 or top 5. He's a very competent quarterback, and he can slice you up if you don't come correct. So I mean, I'm not really worried about what they'll do. It's more so about, will we be better this week? Like, will we play discipline? Will we be in the right spots? And if we're not, this game could go badly for us. I mean, I would hope that, like I said, it's really going to be contingent upon Teddy Bridgewater plays and how healthy he is going into that game, because if he's not available, then you can go ahead and chalk it up. I don't really see us winning that game without Teddy Bridgewater being available. Our defense, do we finally get a week where our defense looks like they did, against Atlanta the first time, Arizona? And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really feel great about it. I won't lie.
Yeah, like Shantice was saying, it's not the Lions players. I'm not particularly worried about anyone on the team. I mean, we've faced players and teams that are more talented than this team. Matt Stafford, he's a capable quarterback, and if we don't respect them, if we don't practice hard, if we don't do the right things all week, they're going to rip us apart just like every other team in the league. So we got to come out and play hard against a team that's on the rise, really. They had a rough start to the season. They were the 3rd pick in the draft last year, but now, they're starting to make things happen. I mean, like we talked about with DeAndre Swift coming to his own. That defense is not very good, but in the NFL, it's any given Sunday. So if we don't come out, they're gonna hand it to us. And kind of like what Shantice was saying, if I'm not too worried about them, but more so us. We have the players' advantage. We even have the coaches' advantage. I know we talk about our coaches a lot of the time. They have Matt Patricia, and I'm not really sure how he's still a coach in the league right now. But so that, I guess that's something we got going for us. But go ahead.
I agree with you guys. Who knows anymore? I don't. I think what Shanti said. I think let's see what happens with the MRI with Teddy. Is Christian going to be back in the lineup? But really, like you guys said, the Detroit Lions are Jekyll and Hyde, just like we are, I think. I mean, and so it just becomes what teams show up and what Carolina Panthers team are we going to get? So I don't know. It's just like you don't know anymore. But that's the NFL too. Let's be real. I mean, Jacksonville goes into Green Bay today, and is, got the ball with a chance to beat him with Luke. I don't even know what the kid's name was, Fulton or whatever, going against Aaron Rodgers. So who knows anymore? I just don't know. But I think it comes down to what we do. And I agree with you, Tyler. I don't know how Matt Patricia's still in the NFL in terms of coaching, head coach, defense coordinator. I got you. But man, that they've never lived up to the potential they have on that team.
No. And I think it's, like you said, I think it's two key. I mean, the two key injuries is, if Teddy and McCaffrey back in full force, and then if they have Galladay back in full force. Without Galladay, as dismal as our defensive backing group is, I think we have enough to manage just Marvin Jones Jr., whoever they have is another guy, and TJ Hawkinson. I think we have enough to cover. But with Kenny Galladay, he's a lot slighter of a guy, but he can still, he's got that sneaky talent. You don't think about him that much, and that's what makes him good, is that you don't think about him, and then boom, next thing you know, he's behind you in the middle of the field. I think two guys that are going to have to, I hope, have a big game, need an upswing, because they were non-existent today for the most part. Jeremy Chin did, for the most part, his job against Gronkowski. Gronkowski was pretty quiet the most of the game, but there were other areas that he was slipping, obviously, towards the end there, too. Gronkowski had a couple big plays. But if Galladay's out, TJ Hawkinson, that's been Stafford's guy there, especially in the red zone. So TJ, it's going to be another area where he's going to have to work that middle of the field and try to swing up on him. Another dude who was pretty much, I don't even think I heard his name today, was Derek Brown. He did just nothing against the Bucs, but if he can get after Matt Stafford's not a guy that's going to be able to get away from him, even though it is Derek Brown. He's not the fastest dude in the field, but Derek and Brian Burns too, because Brian Burns, other than applying pressure, those guys, the front four didn't really make any splash today. And so, it's what Jeff preaches every single week. These veteran quarterbacks, these bigger guys, these kind of slower guys, put some freaking pressure on him. Get in there, get them off their feet and rattled, and you'll have a chance. It's what we did against Nick Foles, it's what we did against Nick Foles that almost had us help win that Bears game for the most part. It's what we've done in weeks past to throw these guys off their group, or like Justin Herbert. He's a younger guy, throw him off of his game, get him uncomfortable. I think that's what we need to do there. And it just again speaks to Phil Snow being very timid in terms of what he needs to do coverage wise. This was one of the few weeks that I'm like, okay, we need to be doing something different than we are. We didn't. I don't know what made him think after playing the Bucs the first time that not rushing Brady was going to work again. I don't know what you've already played this team once, so why?
But it's just the fact that you understand that with a veteran quarterback, if I just let him sit back there and just survey, you already know your corners are scared to death. Troy Price playing 10 yards off. Rasul Douglas can't handle Mike Evans and I'll give Douglas his credit. He competed. He tried. It just didn't do anything. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So why would you keep blitzing from the edge, for one? Why do you keep giving Brady a chance to step up in the pocket? That's the one thing every pocket passer wants to do. If the pressure's coming off the edge, that's where Brian Burns is coming from. Brian Burns is just always a second late, but Brady's well aware that he's coming. So it's not hard for him. All right, cool. He's coming off the edge, but I'll slide up one step, and I'll drop it right over the top of your linebackers.
And it's just something we don't even think of. I don't even know what to think anymore about it. So, is there a matchup you're looking at? We don't want to steal from Shanti's video, but is there a matchup you're looking at here that truly it piques your interest?
Just again, looking at the secondary, I think a key to this game is not to have Corn Elder lead the team in tackles. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he led us in tackles today. One, he shouldn't be leading in tackles. Two, that means we're allowing a lot of completions downfield and making a lot of tackles downfield. So I guess that brings me to my point. We got to stop DeAndre Swift. And overall, we need to be a better tackling team. The tackling all over the place has just been terrible. It was a physical game today, but we didn't wrap up. We didn't drive to the ground. We let ball carriers get yards that they didn't need to. Just a couple yards here and there can really take a toll on a defense like ours where we're not experienced. And we need to out-physical and out-hustle teams. So, and that starts with tackling. So we got to stop DeAndre Swift. That's what I want to see, is how our front seven and our secondary gets DeAndre Swift on the ground.
And that's a crucial point right there, because we had Tom Brady. We had Tom Brady dead to rights, and he was still slipping it. When you have Tom Brady breaking your tackles or slipping away from tackles in the pocket, what are you doing? Come on. And we had Ronald Jones dead to rights a couple times, and he was still slipping through. DeAndre Swift, he's a slippery son of a bitch. So he can get out there. He can make his name known. He can get out there. He can move laterally while still moving forward. He's shown that. He took a little while to get going, but now he's shown that in those areas he can make things happen. So that's that's a key. That's a lot bigger of a thing, that issue that we're gonna have to. Then people are gonna realize. And I think the two things the coaches need to work on a week this practice is tackling and 2-minute drills, because obviously the game's gonna come down for the most part to the last 2 minutes of either the half or of the game, as we've seen almost every game this season, and we haven't been able to. I think we've completed on maybe. I don't think we completed on a single 2-minute drill. I think all the other games that we won there in the trenches before that 2 minutes. So.
Yeah.
Two things. A, stop with the freaking fake punts.
This week, that was not.
Was that like a punt draw? Like the guy was going to pass, but then he ran a draw play?
I can't even tell you that. I have no.
But here's the interesting stat: the Lions, though, are giving up 6 yards a run. So their rushing defense really is not there. So if you're giving up 6 yards a rush, listen, I'm sending Mike Davis at you. And I'm protecting CMC, but keep Matt. It's the same thing. Run the football, play defense, keep Matt Stafford to that, and keep him off the field. And your guys got to do a better job on your tight ends. I mean, TJ Hawkinson can play ball. Let's be real. My boy can play ball.
Yeah.
So you got to do a better job on your, whether it's linebackers or Jeremy Chin or whoever. Of course, I say he's not Gronk, although Gronk's Gronk. And they referred to him today as a Hall of Famer. I want to argue about that one for a minute, but we can do that later.
I'll end that real quick. Yeah, Gronk's a Hall of Famer. I mean, his sheer size and what he's been able to do. I mean, he shouldn't be, but because he was on the Patriots and did what he did with the Patriots, he's going to be. Any other team, he's not. You would go him or like Travis Kelce right now. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer right now, but if he's on the Patriots, he's a Hall of Famer. It's because he's on the Patriots.
So back. I want to see the Lions run defense against Mike Davis and CMC if he's healthy. I want
to. Joe Buck said one of the stupidest things I've ever heard during the Titans-Colts game. He said Phillip Rivers was one of the best to ever do it, and I had to stop.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about meaningless yards, then yeah, you know.
Yeah, if you're talking about that padding, then sure.
Here's the deal: Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl.
That's Dan Marino, though.
But here's the thing, though. Dan Marino didn't win because that franchise didn't. I can't name one receiver Dan Marino played with.
Mark, I can. I got you.
Because you were.
Well, yeah, you were there.
I mean, it was my. Hey, be nice. Be nice.
You weren't even in diapers. You were running around. You were driving cars.
Dude. But you know what? Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but Phillip Rivers. Oh, come on.
He could get in the Hall of Fame for trash talking though.
That's good. He is the funniest white dude I've ever heard trash talk.
He's still a Hall of Famer though.
Yeah, I mean, just stats alone, he's a Hall of Famer. But that's different. That's a little bit different in my mind. I don't remember.
9 kids. Come on, man. He's got to be a Hall of Fame somewhere.
Yeah. True.
Anyway,
Sonny, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. I want to talk to you too about it because I know we've talked about this game before.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the last time we played the Lions, there was DJ. I think this game has been on DJ's calendar and circled because the last time we played the Lions, there was a crucial time where DJ didn't make a block that ended a touchdown that would have won the game for the Panthers. And then also, do we think that game is going to be huge? Because I think DJ had a good upswing this week. We talked about the little slump, and he was like, it's not a slump. They're just spreading the love. But he had, first half he was going off. I also I wonder what's going through Tepper's mind in terms of being aggressive on the ball. Obviously, we made the call to go for 2 for that game to take the win. Didn't come up short. That kind of set the whole season about. So do you think that game back in 2017 is rattling around in their minds a little bit?
I think it should. I think it should. Maybe not for DJ Moore because Moore he just doesn't seem like a. I don't know what he internalized. I don't know what his motivation is when he steps out there. It's some weeks he's going crazy. Some weeks he's just non-existent. So for DJ Moore, I don't think he takes anything personally. I think it's just all each week is his own story.
But he needs to. He needs to start doing that.
I wish he would because he has potential to be what Steve Smith was. Not Steve Smith, but he's got all the talent in the world. But I kind of wish he would just play with a little bit more anger. Play like he hates everybody. But Tepper's got to be thinking about it because here's the thing. All the decisions Tepper's made, he's been banking on being futuristic with analytics, all of this. Hey, look here, buddy. Hey, look at you because I've been watching, and you on the clock, Bucko, because you've made some decisions that I haven't agreed with, and he likes that aggressive style. I guarantee he likes what Matt Rule does with the fake punts. And one of these got to pay off because you've been selling us on, we're going to play aggressive. We're going to be this and that. At some point, you better start winning, because I know myself and a lot of other fans are getting a little restless with the whole, we're going to compete, but be patient because we're young.
And when you're putting an owner on the clock as a fan, that should speak to something. When you're telling the owner, hey, you got time, you got to get going. Like, you don't have.
Hey, look, because when you keep telling me about all these decisions you're making and how they're going to help us progress in the future, man, look, we don't have that much time. I'm going to say we don't have that much time to waste, but it's just we have a lot of players that are really entering their primes right now, and I don't want to waste that. Like, I don't want to waste Christian McCaffrey. He's a running back. We don't know how much longer Christian McCaffrey's going to be at the top of his game. We have receivers that we all think are young, hot receivers in the league, and we don't know how much longer we'll be able to keep all those guys on the roster for this little money that we're paying them. So you really just don't know, and things change quickly in the NFL. Teams can go from being 2-14 to 9-7 French playoff team.
Yeah.
So
even in the season, even the season itself, dude. I mean, a team starts out 5-0, and then you lose 3 of the next 4. Yeah. Not that I'm talking about anybody in particular, but that's in a nutshell. I mean, and it just becomes, when we keep talking about on the clock and stuff, listen, how many people have always said the NFL stands not for long?
Yeah. I mean, it does. And you see it especially with receivers. I mean, you talk about the uptick in like the circulation of running backs. Receivers is even different. They say it's kind of widely known receivers reach their peak or get into their own after about year 3 is when they start to come into their own. And now you're seeing guys, I mean, that weren't even here 3 years ago, like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin. They're taking the league by storm. Christian Kirk. So like our receivers, while they're not old per se, there's that window is closing of them to be elite receivers. I will say last week, or a couple weeks back, I said that DJ Moore needs to sit down with Steve Smith. Steve Smith needs to teach him how to be a dog, how to teach him to be a playmaker, to get that fire in him. I'm gonna change that. Who needs to sit down with him and change his, on-field persona is Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly was the guy, he was freaking Mr. Rogers when he was off the field, but then you get on the field, he's the freaking Hulk. And DJ's a very mild-mannered guy, so if there's anyone that can take him to figure out how to flip that switch on the field, it'd be Luke Kuechly.
Honestly, you're right. I think they relate more on their off the field personalities more than him and Steve Smith.
Because you saw Steve Smith back. I always go back to the all or nothing when Steve Smith's talking to Cam about putting DJ on his fantasy lineup with DJ sitting right there, and DJ just kind of like, yeah, you can start me. I'm good. Like he seems so uncomfortable with the whole situation, and more than a wide receiver should, because a wide receiver is supposed to be that charismatic. They're the guy.
Like, you can be that mellow-mannered guy when you're Julio Jones.
Yeah, you can be that mellow-mannered guy when you're Megatron. Because there's the other opposite side is if you're too non-mellow-mannered and you become like AB, and you don't want to do that. But wrapping up. So like I said, this game's gonna be weird for me. I really don't know what to think. It depends, like y'all been saying, which Panthers show up, whether it's the beginning of the season, first half of the season, or if it's the first half of most games Panthers as opposed to the second half of most games Panthers. And then you'll see, which Lions show up, what roster they're going to have showing up to us to play. So I'm going to go – we keep waiting for it and we keep talking about it. And for Joey Sly, I'm going to give him – I think he's finally going to get the chance to win the game, and I think he's finally going to get it to the point where it's going to be not where he wants it to be. I think you're going to make – with having McCaffrey is going to be fine. I think something's going to go down. Either Teddy's going to be iffy, McCaffrey's going to be iffy going into this game. I just don't know how they're going to be, but I think you get it around like the 45-yard line. Jeff, you're the resident kicker. How far of a kick would that be?
At 45, 52.
Okay, so maybe 40 within that 45, 50 range. I think you get, and then Sly gets the chance. If the weather holds up in Carolina, I'd say I'm gonna go 27-24. I don't know how I'm gonna get 3 touchdowns each, a field goal each. I'm going to say 27-24, and that gives us the win. What about y'all?
All right. I think I'm going to go loss.
Oof.
Loss to the Lions, 30-23 here.
30-23, no.
I think we're going to have a tough time against the run. I just, for no particular reason other than just things just won't be going our way and we won't execute. That's what it's going to come down to at the end of the day. It'll be close, but we just got to execute.
I'm going to go. I really want to see whether Teddy's going to play, but if Teddy's playing, I'll say we win 34-30. Now, if Teddy doesn't play, this we could probably end up only scoring like 13 points, maybe.
Yeah,
it could be like 27-13 if Teddy doesn't play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, I think we lose. I'm gonna just I've picked us to win each week, and it's not working.
Yeah. Maybe Jeff's the X factor. Pick us to lose.
I'll go if Teddy doesn't play. I'm gonna go 34-13 in favor of Detroit. And if Teddy plays, is he 100%? Does CMC go 100%? Even if those two guys play, I still think it's like a 31-24 ball game.
It's gonna be tough either way. I think what Tepper needs to do, it needs to put out the bat signal outside of Bank of America, maybe off of the Mint Street Garage, just with the D3 symbol. Tell Derek Anderson to brush it off. Tell him to put the jersey back on. We need the elite backup quarterback to come, because I ain't putting PJ Walker or Will Greer in a game. Are you kidding me?
I love PJ, man.
Bro, you saw that drive against the freaking Falcons. We saw what he did when he could come in to back up for Teddy. Those balls went in the dirt. The one pass to Robbie almost would have been good had it been in bounds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But of course, everybody who follows us, make sure you check our Twitter and all our social media tomorrow. We'll try to keep you up to date as much.
Yeah, definitely. As you know, as more news comes to light,
I'll try to keep up here in Charlotte what's going down.
Yeah, keep your ear to the ground there in Charlotte. But like we said, guys, thank you again for listening to us. We appreciate all the viewers we've had, the listeners we've had. You can hit us up on Instagram and Twitter, P1N_network. It's the same for both. We've got our YouTube as well, the Panthers Nation Network. Like we said, we're not just a podcast; we're a network. We've got more stuff coming. We're gonna have articles coming here for you. We've got things in the works. So and even some merch coming here in a couple weeks. So keep your ears out and keep your eyes on that. And guys, just thank you again for joining. And until next time, everybody, keep pounding.